Before we get started, I have one small favor to ask. I'd love to reach 100 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. It really helps support the channel. Heated Rivalry bonus content. Part 1 Las Vegas Remix. June 2014, Las Vegas. Ilya only had 3 minutes to pull himself together. 2 minutes and 50 seconds, actually. He was gripping the counter in a bathroom backstage at the NHL Awards, trying to force down the panic that had taken hold of him. It had been simmering all day, finally boiling over when he'd spotted Shane Hollander backstage. It had been a wild few months. He was a Stanley Cup champion now, and it intermittently felt incredible and surreal and empty. His father was well. If there had been any uncertainty about that before, going back to Russia for the Olympics had ended it. It had to be Alzheimer's, and Ilya needed to deal with it because no one else would. Not his brother, not his father's wife. They both insisted that nothing was wrong with Grigory Rozanov. Ilya was flying to Moscow next week, first back to Boston tomorrow to pack and take care of some things before leaving for the rest of the summer. He wished he could stay in Boston, or go somewhere else entirely, somewhere relaxing or fun. When was the last time he'd enjoyed a summer? He'd bet Hollander enjoyed every moment of his summers, soaking up the sun along with the adoration of his friends and family at his stupid fucking lake house thing. Not a care in the world. Ilya hadn't seen Hollander off the ice since the Olympics, hadn't spoken to him since then. He thought about him every day. He thought about the way Hollander had found him in the stands of the Sweden versus Finland game in Sochi, and had asked if he was all right. He thought about how strong the urge had been for Ilya to wrap Hollander in his arms and just hold him. Pull him against his chest so Ilya could bury his face in his short, glossy hair and breathe him in. It had been so fucking scary, that urge. The way Ilya's heart had skipped when he'd spotted Hollander approaching him, and the way he'd wanted to tell him everything. Hollander was waiting for him now, not because he wanted to see him, but because they were presenting an award together. Most sportsmanlike, which Ilya had to admit was funny. He'd told himself all day that it would be fine, seeing Hollander again. But as soon as he'd laid eyes on him, Ilya had felt an overwhelming need to hide. He dashed away, hopefully without Hollander seeing him. So now Ilya was hiding in a bathroom when he was supposed to be standing at Hollander's side, about to walk onto a stage to play up their rivalry for laughs. He stared at himself in the mirror. Despite his father's unhappiness with the length of Ilya's hair, Ilya hadn't cut it since well before the Olympics, maybe because of his father's unhappiness. It was now long enough that he often tied it back as he had tonight. He thought it looked good with the tuxedo, distinguished, sexy. He could really stand to get laid tonight. He'd love to stop thinking for a while. He checked the time on his phone and decided that yes, he needed to get out there. Uncurling his fingers from the counter, he straightened and rolled his shoulders back. He took one slow breath, forced his face into a more relaxed, unbothered expression, and left the bathroom. He spotted Hollander at the edge of the stage, glancing around frantically. Ilya sauntered up behind him, looking for me. Hollander spun around. He was wearing a tuxedo and a scowl, and his hair was neatly parted on the side like a child who was getting his school picture taken. Fuck, Rozanov, what the fuck, we're on in like 5 seconds. Every time Ilya encountered Hollander, whether on the ice or off, he hoped that maybe this time he wouldn't find him so fucking irresistible. He hoped he wouldn't want to watch the irritation in Hollander's dark eyes shift to desire. He hoped he wouldn't want to be thrown against a wall by the man, and let him take his anger out on Ilya for a bit. This time, like every time, those hopes were swiftly shattered. 50 seconds, Ilya said calmly, we are fine. Hollander's mouth dropped open, eyes blazing. Does it matter to you that everyone backstage has been having a heart attack looking for you? Not really. At the moment, Ilya didn't care about anything other than the way Hollander's freckles looked darker than usual, as if he'd been out in the sun recently. Where were you anyway? Hollander asked tightly. Ilya went with the most infuriating answer. Busy. Hollander's eyes narrowed. Oh yeah, with who? God, was he jealous? Did he hate knowing that Ilya slept with other people? It was dangerous to even consider. We're on. He walked quickly onto the stage, wishing he could see the furious expression on Hollander's face as he trailed behind him. The audience, most of whom hated Ilya, loved Hollander and were jealous of both of them, applauded as he made his way to the podium. Ilya found the teleprompter with their dialogue and took a breath. He wasn't a fan of reading English aloud to an audience. Sportsmanship, he said cheerfully, is very important. The audience laughed. I didn't know you knew what that word meant, Rozanov, Hollander read. He sounded authentically angry with Ilya. Of course I know. It is like when I steal the puck from you and score a goal, you are not a sore loser about it. Or when I score a hat trick against your team, you graciously accept defeat. Or, Ilya said in his most obnoxious tone, when I win the Stanley Cup, you are impressed by my achievement. That got a lot of laughter. Anyway, Hollander said grumpily, here are this year's nominees. Hey, Ilya said, still reading from the teleprompter, before we give out the award, can I get a selfie? What? Just a quick one, I mean, when will this happen again, right? Fine, but hurry up. Ilya was excited for this part. He took out his phone, actually opened the camera app, then wrapped one arm around Hollander's shoulders while holding the phone out with the other. He could see Hollander's irritated expression on the phone screen. Ilya took several photos. It was stupid wanting to have them, but that didn't stop him. He did want the photos, even if Hollander's face was all tight with disapproval. Even if Hollander never wanted to touch him again, Ilya would have these photos. He curled his fingers against the soft fabric of Hollander's tuxedo jacket and into the hard muscle beneath. He turned his head just slightly to bring his lips momentarily closer to Hollander's hair. He smelled like mint and citrus, just as he had the last time Ilya had been this close to him, when Ilya had kissed him breathless before pushing him onto a bed. Hollander's irritation was so strong that Ilya could practically see the waves of it radiating from his tense shoulders. Ilya wanted all of it. He wanted Hollander to unleash it on him, then kiss him and order Ilya to fuck him. Ilya wanted Hollander to overwhelm him until he couldn't think of anything else. Ilya let his fingers drag across the back of Hollander's neck as he removed his arm from around his shoulders. He didn't miss the tiny gasp that escaped from Hollander's lips. Ilya's own lips twitched with the urge to stretch into a wide grin. When they finished their spiel, and after Hollander grumpily thrust the trophy into the winner's hands, a forward for Edmonton, nice guy, whatever, Hollander turned on his heel and marched off the stage. Ilya sauntered after him. Hollander entered the same backstage bathroom Ilya had been hiding in earlier. Ilya silently counted to 10, then followed him, not at all surprised that Hollander had left the door unlocked. Ilya barely managed to lock the door behind him before he had Hollander pressed against a wall. Hollander's dark eyes gleamed with anger and lust, a combination that Ilya had never been able to resist, a combination that Ilya had missed. He'd missed him. Well, Ilya asked. Well, what? Ilya's stomach flipped and his cock twitched. This fucking guy. Ilya decided to push his luck and pointed to the floor. Are you not going to suck my dick? Fuck you, why don't you suck mine? That definitely wasn't going to happen in this gross bathroom, but Ilya kept his expression neutral and hummed softly, as if considering the offer. Helplessly, he brushed his fingertips along the sharp line of Hollander's smooth jaw. Maybe ask nice. Ilya wondered if he had pushed too far, if anger would overtake the lust in Hollander's dark eyes and Ilya would be shoved backward, if Ilya would have to watch him walk away. Please. It was barely a whisper, but Hollander's single word rocketed through Ilya. He managed to maintain his cool exterior, but barely. Instead of giving in to what they both wanted, Ilya pushed further. You want me to kneel on this dirty bathroom floor? You have to ask nicer than that, Hollander. Please, Hollander said again, his voice strained and shaking, probably from the effort it took to not punch Ilya, or to not die of embarrassment. Get on your knees and suck my dick, please. Ilya raked his gaze over Hollander's body, pausing at the obvious bulge in his tuxedo pants. Ilya cupped him through the sleek fabric, and enjoyed the way Hollander had to close his eyes, and the way he gasped. Ilya leaned in, hovering his lips next to Hollander's ear, and said, no. Hollander's reaction was even better than Ilya had hoped. His eyes flew open, brow pinched with confusion. What? No, I will not do anything to you in here. Ilya was suddenly struck by a fantastic idea. We will go back out there and sit in our seats and then go to the party. And then, when you have been waiting all night for it, you will come to my hotel room, and I will maybe do more than suck your dick. You're really going to leave me like this? Hollander asked, stalling pointlessly. Yes, for now. Another few seconds of hesitation, and then, with an absurd amount of irritation, fine. Or I will make a deal. If you win MVP tonight, I will blow you, fuck you, whatever you want. Hollander stared at him, and Ilya could practically see the suggestion rolling around in his brain. He would say yes to this. He wouldn't be able to resist such an offer, not when Ilya had made it a competition with a winner and a loser. And if you win? Ilya grinned. He knew this man so well, without really knowing him at all. I will let you know. Now would be the moment to make his exit. leave Hollander confused and horny without showing how badly Ilya wanted him to, how much he'd missed him. But Ilya couldn't resist stealing a kiss now that he finally had him alone. Before he could overthink it, he grabbed Hollander's lapel and kissed him. It was hard and messy and probably more urgent than Ilya would have liked. It still wasn't the way he wanted to kiss Hollander, but if he kissed him the way he wanted to, a slow exploration of Hollander's mouth that would provide Ilya with enough memories to get him through the long summer ahead, they would never leave this bathroom. It was fucking stupid. Ilya let him go. Good luck tonight. He left without looking back. Why was Ilya so nervous? He won the MVP award, of course, and now he was waiting for his real prize. Hookups didn't ever make him nervous, and Hollander was just a hookup. More interesting maybe than other people Ilya slept with, more fun to tease, and yes, hotter, objectively. But still, there was no reason for the butterflies in Ilya's stomach. In his hotel suite, Ilya removed his tuxedo jacket and his bow tie, then his shoes and socks. He felt overheated when he wanted to seem perfectly in control of everything, including his own body temperature. He unbuttoned the top 3 buttons on his shirt, then, after a quick glance in the full-length mirror, a 4th button. He smoothed his palms over his slicked back hair, tamming any strays that had escaped. "Jane, I'm here." Ilya smiled at his phone, the butterflies settling immediately. He unlocked the door and opened it just in time for Hollander to grab the handle on the other side. Ilya walked to the middle of the room and turned to face him. Hollander was still wearing his tuxedo jacket, but had removed his tie. His cheeks were slightly pink, either from rushing up to Ilya's room or from alcohol. "Here to congratulate me," Ilya said calmly. "I guess." Ilya playfully spread his arms, waiting for Hollander to actually say the word. "Congratulations," he said, not sounding like he meant it at all. "Thank you, now take off your clothes." To Ilya's delight, he obeyed immediately, and in a very Shane Hollander way. Each piece of his suit was folded flat and draped over the back of the sofa, as if he'd need to wear the tuxedo again tomorrow or something. Ilya watched him, finding the whole thing more amusing than seductive. "Shouldn't we?" Hollander said when he was wearing only his boxer briefs. "I mean, there are windows." "We are on the 16th floor." "Yeah, but..." So much for fucking Hollander against the window with the Vegas strip stretching out beneath them. Oh well, Ilya had lots of ideas. He silently headed for the bedroom, letting Hollander follow behind him. He drew the curtains closed, but didn't let Hollander get too comfortable. "On the bed," Ilya said firmly, without looking at him. When he finally turned to face him, Hollander was already on the bed, still in his underwear. His skin looked flawless and golden in the low lamplight, his hair slightly disheveled from undressing. He was absently chewing on his lower lip and staring at Ilya as if awaiting further instruction. Ilya left the room. He shouldn't have invited Hollander to his room. They managed to avoid each other for months, and Ilya could have simply let that continue. Forever, because that was what made sense. Shane Hollander sprawled out on Ilya's bed, offering himself as a fucking prize, did not make sense. The way Ilya was more tempted to gather Hollander in his arms and hold him all night than fuck him didn't make sense. The way Ilya knew that if he kissed him he'd never stop didn't make sense. He needed to be careful tonight. Ilya poured vodka into a glass, downed it, then poured another. Finally, after a long, steadying breath, he returned to the bedroom, drink in hand. Hollander was still on the bed, still waiting. God. Ilya sat in a chair at the end of the bed and silently took a sip of vodka. "I am impressed with this hotel. This vodka is not so easy to find." "Okay," Hollander said. There was clear impatience in his tone, which only made Ilya want to stretch this out more. Instead, he decided to test the limits of Hollander's obedience. "Touch yourself." Hollander's eyes went wide. What? This wasn't something they'd ever done before. Maybe Hollander would give his own dick a few lazy strokes while waiting for Ilya to put a condom on, or a few desperate strokes to get himself over the edge while Ilya plowed him. But not like this. "Show off for me," Ilya clarified. "Let me watch you." Hollander did not seem any less confused. "You, what?" "Is my special night, Hollander. I want to watch you." Blush spread across Hollander's cheeks and down his neck to his chest. I've never. Of course he hadn't, which is exactly why Ilya wanted him to now. For him, "I thought maybe not, so show me. How do you touch yourself, Shane Hollander?" For a long, tense moment, both men were silent, their gazes locked. Ilya certainly wasn't going to be the one to speak first. He took another sip of his drink and waited. "Give me some of that vodka then," Hollander finally said. "I'm too sober for this." Ilya wanted to pump his fist in celebration, but he kept his cool. No, the vodka you can have after, as reward. Fuck you. Ilya was having a great time now. He'd forgotten how much fun it was with Hollander. Is good vodka, come on, look at your poor dick Hollander, give him some attention, yes. The bulge in Hollander's underwear was hard to ignore. As much as Hollander looked like he was going to punch Ilya, he must have been dying to touch himself. Close your eyes, Ilya said encouragingly. Pretend you are alone, how do you start? Finally, slowly, Hollander brought his hand to his stomach. He kept his eyes closed as he dragged his fingers gently over his skin, barely touching. It was somehow sexier than anything Ilya had ever seen in his life. Hollander was nervous, but he was doing this for Ilya. When Hollander finally pressed his hand to his erection, it was like a switch was flipped. The nerves disappeared, released with a filthy moan as Hollander began to show off. Ilya was mesmerized, impressed, and so turned on he was having a difficult time staying cool. He was leaning forward eagerly in his chair, and didn't realize it until Hollander opened his eyes, catching him. Ilya fought for control. Come on, Hollander, he managed to say. Show me. Hollander slid his underwear down until it stretched across his enormous thighs. His cock was already dripping. Stroke it, Ilya heard himself saying. Make yourself come for me. Hollander slowly spread a pearly drop of pre-cum over the head of his cock, watching Ilya's face the entire time. Ilya was going to have a heart attack. There is lube in the drawer, Ilya said, somewhat haltingly because he'd almost forgotten the English words drawer, lube, and the. He definitely wasn't the one in charge anymore, beside the bed. As if to prove it, Hollander said, get it for me. Ilya got it for him. In an attempt to regain some control, Ilya childishly pulled the bottle away as Hollander reached for it. Then, he tossed it on the bed, and delighted in watching Hollander angrily retrieve it. He wanted more anger. Would you like to know how it feels? He asked as he sat back in his chair. How what feels? The cup, do you want to know what it feels like to hold the Stanley Cup? Hollander's eyes were furious. Oh fuck you. Ilya laughed. I cannot describe it anyway, impossible. I'll find out for myself soon enough. Ilya had no doubt. Of course, now show me how you like it, Hollander. Hollander did. He pleasured himself shamelessly, eagerly, as if he was hopping for positive feedback when he was done. He was breathtakingly beautiful, and Ilya needed to be inside him. He couldn't possibly just watch. Open yourself up, Ilya instructed. Use your fingers. Hollander did. He poured lube over his fingers and began massaging his hole. Ilya's cock was straining against his pants, and his mind was crumbling apart. Yes, he said. Let me see you open yourself for me. It was an unnecessary instruction. Hollander already had a finger inside. You gonna fuck me? Ilya might never stop fucking him. There was nothing ever in his life that he'd wanted more. We'll see, he said, his voice remarkably steady. He sipped his vodka, hoping he wouldn't give himself away. But then Hollander broke him with a single word. Please. Oh God, Hollander was begging. Ilya swallowed hard. Please what? I need. Ilya wanted him to say it. He wanted him to tell Ilya to fuck him, to hold him, to stay with him. What do you need, Hollander? You fuck me, please. The you echoed in Ilya's ears, pounding along with his blood as he stood. He began to undress, but only got as far as removing his shirt before Hollander, on all fours, was rubbing his face against Ilya's crotch. English left Ilya. Everything left Ilya except raging lust and something sharper and more painful that he needed to ignore. Why does it have to be you? He said aloud in Russian. Why are you so perfect? It's fucking awful. He was wondering if Hollander might have been sent as some sort of test from God, something Ilya was supposed to resist, when Hollander wrapped his lips around Ilya's cock. Sorry, God. Fuck Hollander, Ilya moaned, finding his English again. You love it. Hollander kept sucking, and Ilya enjoyed it for as long as he could. When he was dangerously close to coming, he pulled out and said, turn over. Ilya wasn't even trying to be cool anymore, not when Hollander was presenting his ass so obediently. Ilya barely managed to get the condom and lube on before he sank into Hollander, fucking him with no finesse or patience at all. He jackhammered into him, mad at Hollander for existing, mad at himself for needing him. Hollander kept repeating please, and Ilya tried his best to give him everything he had. His orgasm was violent and wonderful, and Ilya cried out as it ripped through him. He was dimly aware that Hollander had come to, and wished he could have seen it. He rested his forehead between Hollander's shoulder blades, panting and breathing him in. Finally, he fell to the bed beside him. Jesus, Hollander. Hollander looked wrecked, all flushed and glistening and messy. He smiled at Ilya and said, "How about that vodka?" Ilya laughed and his heart swelled. "Yes, give me a minute." He didn't want to leave the bed because when he did, this would be over. Hollander wouldn't be smiling at him, gorgeous and spent. He'd get dressed, he'd leave. Ilya would be alone. He let himself look at Hollander, trying to memorize every detail of that moment. He wanted to kiss him. He wanted to roll on top of him and kiss him until they both fell asleep. He wanted to kiss him in the morning and all day tomorrow. Ilya left the bed. He got cleaned up and he brought a washcloth and a glass of vodka back to the bedroom for Hollander. He brought a cigarette and a lighter for himself. He wanted Hollander to be annoying about the cigarette, though Ilya knew it wouldn't make him like Hollander less. Hollander didn't say anything about the cigarette. Even when Ilya released long, obnoxious clouds of smoke over the bed they were both reclining on. Hollander quietly sipped his vodka, while Ilya waited for the moment to crumble apart. "Are you heading back soon?" Hollander asked. "Back to Russia for the summer." "Are their moment ruined?" "Yes." "Oh." Ilya was surprised when, after a moment, Hollander asked, "Why?" Irritated, Ilya gave a short answer, "It is home." "But do you like going there?" Hollander may as well have stabbed Ilya in the gut. Ilya could practically feel the blade twisting, tearing up his insides. He hoped Hollander didn't notice his shaking fingers as he brought the cigarette back to his lips. In that moment, Ilya wanted to tell Hollander everything. Instead, he closed his eyes and said, "I should sleep." "Oh," Hollander sounded disappointed, or maybe just embarrassed. "Yeah, I need to get going anyway." Ilya kept his eyes closed, so he wouldn't need to watch him leave. "Yes." He heard Hollander moving around the hotel room, first in the bedroom, then in the main room, gathering his clothes. Ilya stayed on the bed. "See you," Hollander said from the other room. Ilya dropped his cigarette butt into Hollander's not empty vodka glass, watching the ash turn something pure and perfect into something dark and ugly. Goodbye, Hollander. Heated Rivalry bonus content. Part 2 Halloween with Ilya. Ilya barely ever used his Instagram account. He'd set one up when he'd signed with Ottawa in July, because the team encouraged players to use social media, probably because the team was so bad that this was the only way to generate interest in the players. Ilya had posted exactly 4 times before today. The first was a press photo of himself wearing an Ottawa jersey and ball cap after signing his new contract. The second was a photo of his new Ducati motorcycle. That one had earned him a panicked phone call from Shane. The third photo was a perfect flying V of Canada geese over a lake, which he had labeled Canada. No one knew that when Ilya had taken that photo, he'd been at Shane's cottage, and Shane had been standing behind him with an arm draped over his shoulder. The fourth post had been an action shot taken by the team photographer during Ilya's first game with Ottawa, so Ilya's Instagram account was pretty boring. He still had over 200,000 followers, though. And now those 200,000 followers were going to see his Halloween costume. Ilya had posted the photo an hour ago, just after he'd finished decorating his front yard for trick-or-treaters. His house was big, and he had an enormous driveway to match, but he didn't want that to deter children. He loved seeing kids in their Halloween costumes. He'd spent the afternoon jabbing plastic spikes topped with glowing pumpkins and skulls into the grass along the walk to his front door. He'd hung fabric ghosts from the big elm tree in the middle of the circle of his driveway. He'd put an assortment of festive signs in the grass, near the open gate at the end of the drive that said things like trick or treat, and beware, which was maybe a mixed message, but the store didn't have much left to choose from. He was dumping a box of full-size Kit Kat bars into a large plastic bowl that said Witch's Brew on it when his phone buzzed. "Shane, seriously?" Ilya grinned and typed good rights. "Shane, you are the fucking worst." Ilya glanced up at his reflection in the giant mirror that hung in his foyer and laughed. His costume consisted of 3 things: a Shane Hollander Montreal jersey, a Montreal Voyageurs ball cap, and a bunch of dark freckles that Ilya had dotted onto his own face with a semi-permanent marker. "Ilya, I think I look good, very sexy." Ilya watched the floating dots as he waited for Shane to type his reply. Then the dots went away and Ilya's phone rang. "Why?" Shane demanded. "It's funny. This is the stupidest thing you have ever done." "Not even close." "Where are you even?" "I am at home," Ilya said calmly. He ripped open a box of full-size Mars bars. "So you're just sitting around alone at home, dressed like me?" "I am dressed better than you, Hollander. Did you see my jeans in that photo?" "Oh God," Shane squeaked. There are so many likes on this post, what the fuck? Yes, tons. Mrs. Rosanov 98 says that it is epic. It's not epic, it's a jersey and a hat. And freckles. Don't even get me started on the freckles. What is that, Sharpie? How are you going to wash that off? Ilya wasn't actually sure, but he'd worry about that later. How is Edmonton? It's snowing here, Shane grumbled. I think it's been snowing since August. When does the game start? Not for 5 fucking hours. I hate time zones. Oh. Ilya nearly jumped when his doorbell rang. There are kids here. Wait a minute, yes. He rested the phone on the table and picked up the giant bowl of chocolate bars. When he opened the door, he was greeted by a cluster of 4 small children and 3 adults who were standing back a little. Trick or treat, the kids chorused. Yikes, a vampire, Ilya said, clutching his chest. And a zombie, this is terrible. The kids laughed and Ilya dropped candy bars into their bags. The last 2 kids stepped forward and Ilya nearly died when he saw them. 2 little girls dressed as knights. Are you here to save me from the monsters? He asked. The girls giggled and Ilya gave them candy. He glanced up at the parents and he could tell they recognized him, but were unsure of what to do about it. He'd gotten that look a lot over the years. He noticed that one of the men was holding a baby who appeared to be dressed as a little dragon. Oh my God, Ilya said, gesturing the man closer. I have to see that, this is adorable. The man beamed and carried the baby over to Ilya. That costume is hilarious, the man said. I saw it on your Instagram earlier. Is the scariest thing I could think of, Ilya quipped. He smiled at the baby, who was staring at him and blowing little spit bubbles. I love this guy. What is his name? Aaron. Hello, Aaron. Come back in a few years and you will get candy bars from me, okay? Aaron the baby kept staring at him. Nice to meet you, Mr. Rosanov, the man said. Ilya, he corrected and held out his hand. The man shook it and said, Danny. Have a good night, Danny. Danny nodded, looking giddy. He'd have a story to tell his buddies tomorrow. Ilya waved at the other parents as they turned and headed back down the driveway with their kids. Then he remembered that Shane was still on the phone. Maybe. Ilya closed the door and picked up the phone. You still there? Yeah, Shane's voice was oddly quiet. What is it? Nothing, just I heard most of that, and it was very sweet. Ilya shrugged. I like kids. I know, and they liked you. Of course they do. Shane laughed, and Ilya wished he was here with him, handing out candy with him. The more daring part of his brain imagined taking their own kids trick-or-treating someday. Maybe he could talk Shane into some sort of family costume, like the Ninja Turtles or Batman characters. Shane would look good as Robin. I miss you, Ilya said. Me too. What day did we say worked? Thursday. Yes, I can drive up Wednesday night and leave Thursday afternoon. Shane sighed. That's not much time. I know. Or fuck, now the NHL Twitter account posted your costume photo. Oh yes. Is it weird that I'm a little into it? Ilya laughed. I can wear it on Wednesday night. Nope, that's weird. Admit it, you want to make out with yourself. You look nothing like me. Thank God, Ilya peeked out the window and saw another group of kids and their parents approaching. I have to go, Maury kids are here. Okay, I need to go eat dinner anyway. I will save you a Mars bar for Wednesday. Do you have any Snickers? No, peanut allergies, Hollander, come on. I'm not allergic to peanuts. Kids are, I don't want to hurt kids. Not every kid, I'm sure you could. Just buy a Snickers bar, cheapskate. Shane laughed. Maybe I will, a little Halloween treat. I love you. I love you too, good night. Good luck tonight. Ilya ended the call just as the doorbell rang. As he opened the door, he made a mental note to buy a box of Snickers bars before Wednesday. Heated Rivalry bonus content. Part 3, My Dinner with Hayden. November 2018, Montreal. Ilya opened the door of Shane's house to greet Hayden and his wife, Jessica. He could have waited for Shane to finish washing his hands in the kitchen so he could join him at the door, but this was more fun. Oh God, Hayden said as soon as he was faced with Ilya, I don't think I can do this. Ilya smiled and stepped aside. Please come in. Hayden moved past him, his wife following closely behind. She at least offered Ilya a friendly, and possibly apologetic, smile as she handed him the bottle of wine they had brought. "Shane," Hayden called out, "don't want to alarm you, but Ilya Rozanov is in your house." Shane emerged from the kitchen, drying his hands with a dish towel. He was wearing dark pants and a blue button-up shirt that was open at the collar. Ilya was struck, not for the first time that night, by how good he looked and by how right this all felt. Shane and Ilya at home, having dinner with friends. Even if the friends sucked a little. "You promised you weren't going to be an asshole, Hayden," Shane complained. "That's true," Hayden's wife confirmed. "You did promise that." She offered Ilya her hand. "I'm Jackie, by the way." "Jackie," Ilya repeated. "It's nice to meet you. Your husband I am not sure about yet." "He'll behave." Jackie was a beautiful woman with long, dark hair, sparkling green eyes, and an athletic body. She was much too good for Hayden. Shane directed them all to the spacious living room. Ilya went to the kitchen to deposit the gifted wine and to get the better wine he had already opened. He definitely needed wine. When he entered the living room, things were already looking dire. Jackie was making small talk with Shane about his electric fireplace, while Hayden was looking at the floor with his hands clasped between his knees. Ilya set 4 wineglasses on the coffee table, then immediately plucked one and filled it generously. He handed it wordlessly to Hayden because he looked like he could use it. Hayden accepted it with a wary nod and because he had no class at all, took a giant gulp. After he'd swallowed, he wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, made a move to place the glass on the table, then seemed to think better of it and brought it back to his lips for another mouthful. "I was just telling Shane how beautiful this house is," Jackie said. Ilya handed her the next glass of wine, which she thanked him for before taking a small, sensible sip. "Yes," Ilya agreed. "We should give you a tour. The master bathroom has a very good shower." He looked directly at Hayden and winked. "Big enough for 2. Hayden's jaw clenched as he reached for the wineglass he'd only just set down. "How are the kids?" Shane asked quickly. "How, Amber?" "Great," Jackie said brightly. "She's into everything, of course, now that she's walking." Ilya considered his options for where to sit. Shane and Jackie were occupying the 2 armchairs closest to the fireplace. Hayden was sitting at one end of the sofa that faced them. Ilya could sit at the other end of the sofa, but he chose the more obnoxious option of perching on the arm of Shane's chair. Instead of handing Shane his wine, Ilya draped his arm around Shane's shoulders and hovered the glass in front of his lips. Shane tilted his head back to give him a look that was more annoyed than charmed, then took the wineglass. "I would love to meet your kids," Ilya said. "Shane has told me lots of stories about them." It wasn't really true, not the stories part anyway. Ilya did legitimately like kids, though, and the Pikes had more than enough of them. He smiled warmly at Jackie, who beamed back at him. "That's sweet," she said. "Maybe next time you're in town we can have you guys over in the afternoon. The kids love their Uncle Shane." Ilya nudged his boyfriend, "Uncle Shane." "I haven't been a good uncle lately," Shane said. "I've been so busy." "My fault," Ilya confessed. "Jesus," Hayden muttered. Jackie shot her husband a pointed look, and Shane stood. "Maybe we should eat." Hayden stood just as quickly. "Yup, definitely, let's eat." As Ilya made his way to the dining room, Shane tugged on his arm to hold him back. "Stop doing that," he hissed. "Doing what?" Ilya asked innocently. "You're intentionally bothering Hayden." "I'm not. I have not even asked his wife what she sees in him. I am being very good." Shane's face got stern and adorable. "Behave," he warned. In response, Ilya kissed his forehead. "Always, moi Lubavnik." He took a moment to enjoy the flush that always appeared in Shane's cheeks when Ilya used Russian terms of endearment. He would definitely need to keep Shane's wineglass full tonight. He wanted him to loosen up and enjoy himself, and then get all snugly in bed later. Shane invited Hayden and Jackie to sit at the dining room table before rushing off into the kitchen. Ilya topped off the guests' wineglasses before saying, "Sorry to leave you alone, but I should help him." "Of course," Jackie said. Hayden nodded through a mouthful of wine. Ilya went to the kitchen, but paused a moment to lean against the entryway and watch as Shane dipped a spoon into the large pot on the stove and brought it to his lips to sample. He blew gently a couple of times before sinking the spoon into his mouth. His brow furrowed in concentration as he worked to determine if it was good enough to serve his best friends. It was cute, and Ilya loved him. "How is it?" Ilya asked, moving away from the entrance to stand unnecessarily close to Shane in the spacious kitchen. "I think it's good," Shane said, though he didn't sound sure. "Do you think it's too salty?" Ilya kissed him, tasting only the barest remnants of the coq au vin on his tongue. "Tastes perfect," he said when he pulled away. "Don't be stupid," Shane said, but his voice was unsteady. He cleared his throat and said, "Taste it properly." Ilya rolled his eyes and grabbed a fresh spoon. He dipped it into the pot, then made a show of dragging the sample into his mouth with his tongue. He slipped the spoon between his lips and hollowed his cheeks, moaning wantonly as he sucked and savored the rich flavor of the broth. The stew was fine. The plain arousal on Shane's face was delicious. "Is good," Ilya said after he pulled the spoon from his mouth with a wet pop. "Where is the parsley I chopped?" Cooking was something that he and Shane had gotten into together. It was enjoyable, finding recipes and learning new kitchen techniques. Working together on something, rather than competing, not that it was never competitive. Plus, there was delicious food to eat when they were done, and Ilya was pretty sure that the feeling of accomplishment made Shane horny. Win-win-win. They ladled the stew into white bowls, Ilya wiping any stray drops from the rims with a towel. He artfully sprinkled the parsley on top of each one, then grabbed two of the bowls. He paused for a quick kiss before carrying the food out to their waiting guests. "Wow," Jackie enthused when Ilya placed one of the bowls in front of her. "You guys made this." "We did," Ilya said. Looking at the food now, he felt a little bit proud. Shane brought the remaining two out, then darted back to the kitchen to grab a basket full of bread he had purchased at a bakery that morning. "What is this?" Hayden poked at the stew with his spoon like he suspected Ilya may have dropped some razor blades in it. "Coq au vin," Shane said proudly and perfectly as he returned with the bread. "That's French," Ilya added helpfully. Hayden glared at him. They all ate without speaking for a few spoonfuls. Ilya wondered who would crack first. Not surprisingly, it was Shane. "Did you hear about that McFarland's suspension?" Hayden's eyes shot up, and Ilya could see the relief in them. "Yeah, holy shit, right." They gossiped with each other about the latest off-ice conduct suspension, and Ilya took the opportunity to offer Jackie a sympathetic smile. She smiled back and rolled her eyes. When Shane brought up the proposed new rules regarding defensive line changes, Ilya decided to step up and be the hero. "Let's not talk about hockey tonight," he suggested mildly. "Thank you," Jackie said. Unfortunately, no one seemed to have an alternate topic to discuss, so the four of them fell back into awkward silence. "Well, we need to talk about something," Shane complained after a minute had passed. "We could talk about how Hayden is eating around the mushrooms like a 5-year-old, Ilya offered. Hayden put his spoon down with a loud clank. "We could talk about what the fuck Shane sees in you." "Hayden," Jackie scolded. "Ah," Ilya nodded sagely, "you are jealous." "What? No," Hayden sputtered. "I'm not jealous of you. I'm not Shane. I love you, you know that, but I'm not." He turned to Ilya, who was now thoroughly enjoying himself. "Jesus, my wife is right here, you fucking asshole, and you know that's not what I meant." Ilya just shrugged. He hadn't actually meant it, but now he was starting to wonder. "The food is delicious," Jackie said, probably wanting to steer the conversation away from whether or not her husband had a giant crush on Shane. "I didn't even know you cooked, Shane." "He's full of surprises," Hayden grumbled. Ilya could see the tension in Shane's jaw and in his eyes. "I got into cooking this past year," Shane said. He took a sip of water, and Ilya noticed a slight tremor in his fingers as he set the glass back down. "It's something we've been doing together when we get the chance." "That's sweet," she said, and sounded like she meant it. "We should cook together sometime, Hayden." "I suck at cooking." "You suck at hockey," Ilya pointed out, "but you still play it." Hayden looked pleadingly at Shane. "Seriously, this guy, I've got no problem with you being gay." "What a hero," Ilya said flatly. Hayden turned to Ilya. "Shane can date all the men he wants, but you are a relentless douchebag and I've never liked you." "Jesus, Hayden," Jackie mumbled. Ilya raised an eyebrow. "You should save some of that for our wedding." "Fuck, don't even," Hayden shook his head, then went back to pushing mushrooms around his bowl. There was a tense minute where no one said anything, and then Jackie asked, with a noticeable amount of forced cheerfulness, "So, Ilya, did you get back to Russia over the summer at all?" "Jesus, this was a nightmare." "No," Ilya said. He couldn't think of anything to add, so he didn't. "He was at my cottage mostly," Shane explained, "and then dealing with moving to Ottawa." "Right," Jackie said. "How are you liking Ottawa?" "Fine," Ilya said. "Team sucks, but the city is not bad." "I don't understand why you'd leave a contender like Boston to play for Ottawa," Hayden said. I am sure you don't understand a lot of things. Ilya, Shane said wearily. What happens when you guys break up, Rozanov? Hayden continued, jabbing a fork between Shane and Ilya. You gonna sign with Anaheim or something? Shane must have sensed Ilya was about to say something that almost certainly would have made Hayden smash the wine bottle on the table and come for Ilya's face with it, because he put a hand on Ilya's forearm and said, "Could you guys give it a rest, please?" "Yes, Hayden, grow the hell up," Jackie said. "And besides," she leaned in, hands cupped around her wineglass and eyes glinting, "I want to hear how you two met." Ilya snorted, he couldn't help it. "I mean," Jackie said with a dismissive wave of her hand, "not how you met, we all know that, obviously, but when was the first time you felt sparks?" "I'll bet Shane was drunk as hell," Hayden grumbled. "We don't all need alcohol to make people sleep with us," Ilya said. Hayden flushed, possibly realizing that Shane had told Ilya all about how he and Jackie had met at a nightclub years ago. "I wasn't drunk," Shane said quietly. "I wasn't even old enough to drink legally." "Wait," Hayden said, "back the fuck up. You told me it had been going on for a while. I thought you meant a season or two, not how fucking young were you when you first, when you first, fuck I can't, you know what I mean." 19, Ilya said at the same time Shane said, 18. Ilya shot him a curious look. "We were 19 the first time we—" "Oh," Shane said, "I thought the question was the first time we felt, sparks." His ears were bright red and Ilya wanted to bite them. "Yes," Ilya said, his voice has gone soft but he didn't care. 18 then, that's right." The look that Shane gave him in response was so heated and adoring that Ilya wondered how rude it would be to shove Hayden and his lovely wife out the door right now. "So where were you?" Jackie asked, breaking the moment, "when you were both 18? "It was, Shane started, but then appeared to be overcome with embarrassment at the memory. "A hotel gym," Ilya finished for him, "the night we were both drafted." "A public gym," Hayden looked like he was going to faint. "Before you were even rookies, are you fucking kidding me?" "Nothing happened," Shane explained quickly. "It wasn't like that, I just felt something." "Lust," Ilya supplied. "No, maybe, shut up," Shane sighed. "Can we stop talking about this?" "Absolutely," Hayden said. The four of them stopped talking altogether. They ate in silence for another several uncomfortable minutes before Hayden rested his spoon beside his bowl of mushrooms and said, "So you go back to Ottawa tomorrow, Rozanov?" "Yes, don't worry, I will be gone for a while." This visit, like he suspected most of them would be during this first season of living a couple of hours apart, was a short one. He had a day off, so he'd driven to Montreal immediately following his game in Ottawa last night. He'd arrived after midnight, and despite Shane having to get up early for practice, they'd kept each other awake for hours. Tomorrow afternoon, Ilya was flying to Vancouver and wouldn't be back in Ottawa for 2 weeks. He had a day off when he got back, but unfortunately Shane would be on the road then. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was definitely better than it had been before. Last season had been agony. Ilya had still been playing for Boston, and knowing that Shane was in love with him had made keeping their secret so much harder. Before they'd admitted their feelings to one another, Ilya had always enjoyed the sneaking around. He'd liked Shane Hollander being his sexy secret, but the past 15 months hadn't been much fun at all. It was why Ilya had been unenthusiastic when Shane had suggested having Hayden and Jackie over for dinner. Their nights together were so few and far between that Ilya didn't want to share a single one with anyone else, especially not Hayden's stupid Pike. Hayden had inadvertently stumbled on the truth a week ago by joking that Shane was secretly dating Ilya. Shane, who Ilya knew had been trying to figure out the right moment to tell his best friend that he was in love with Ilya Rozanov, had seized the opportunity and come clean. Hayden had been, understandably, dumbfounded. This dinner was important to Shane, and Ilya knew the purpose of this evening was to make Jackie, and especially Hayden, understand what Shane saw in him. As far as Ilya was concerned, it wasn't anyone's business why Shane loved him. Ilya certainly didn't need to convince anyone that he was worth Shane's affection. Fuck them. It wasn't his job or Shane to explain their relationship to anyone. After dinner they retired to the living room. Other than the occasional comment on a piece of furniture or question about Shane's parents, both from Jackie, the room was silent. Ilya decided to put on some background music so it didn't feel like they were in a hospital waiting area. After another 15 minutes of stiff conversation to a backdrop of Post Malone, he went to the kitchen to get more wine. He briefly considered the vodka, but decided it would not be the best choice given his early morning the next day, or the fact that he would prefer a cuddly Shane later to a horribly ill Shane. When Ilya returned, Shane and Jackie were standing near the hallway that led to the stairs. "I'm going to show Jackie the house," Shane said. Ilya could very clearly read the unspoken message in Shane's words: "Stay here and bond with Hayden." Fuck, Ilya should have grabbed the vodka. He refilled Hayden's wineglass, then his own, and then sat at the opposite end of the couch from Hayden. "So," Ilya said. "What are you doing with him?" Hayden asked abruptly. "What's your game here?" "Game?" Hayden stood up and loomed over Ilya in what was probably supposed to be a threatening manner. "Is this a joke to you, or do you just get off on fucking with him?" "I do get off on fucking him, yes." Hayden's hands curled into fists. "That's not what I mean and you know it. Shane is like forbidden. Is that the appeal?" Ilya's eyebrows shot up. "You do not think much of your best friend." "I don't think much of you." Ilya sighed and nonchalantly crossed his legs. "And who should Shane be with?" "A nice guy, someone who, I don't know." Hayden threw up his hands. "Someone who fucking cares about him." All right, that was quite enough. Ilya stood, which gave him a good 7 inches of height on Hayden. In the tight space between the sofa and the coffee table, their chests bumped together. "You think you know what is best for him?" "Yeah, I've known him since we were rookies." Ilya's lips quirked up. "Maybe you were not listening at dinner, but so have I." "Wells, you wouldn't know it. He never fucking mentioned you." "Funny, he didn't talk much about you either." "I'm his best friend." "I'm his boyfriend." "You've also slept with like 1,000 women." Ilya scrunched his nose. "Is probably not 1,000. He began doing some rough calculations in his head, but was interrupted when Hayden said, "Who do you think you are kidding here? You obviously aren't, gay." Ilya stared at him blankly. "You have not heard of bisexuals." Hayden narrowed his eyes. "Bisexual, huh?" Ilya switched to an overly animated, educational tone. "Some people like apples, some people like oranges, some people like apples and oran." "Oh fuck you, I know what it means." "Then I can sleep with 1,000,000 women, and still fall in love with your best buddy Shane." Hayden shook his head, looking more frustrated than ever. "Do you have any idea of what it will do to him if this secret gets out?" Ilya snorted. "Yes, I have thought about it a bit. I won't let you hurt him." "Okay. I'm serious." And then Hayden shoved Ilya's chest with both hands. "Are you guys fucking kidding me?" Both men whipped their heads around to see Shane standing in the entranceway. "Like, are you guys serious right now?" "He started it," Ilya said. It sounded stupid even to his own ears. Shane pointed at Ilya. "Do you know how long I have been wanting to do this? To introduce you to my friends as my boyfriend. Hayden and Jackie are my best friends and you are being an asshole." "Fucking right," Hayden said smugly. "And you," Shane said, turning his fury on Hayden. "You're acting like I met Ilya yesterday or something. Just because you only found out about us recently doesn't mean our relationship is new. It's pretty fucking solid, even if you don't want to believe it. Even if you don't want to consider the fact that we have been keeping this thing a secret for almost 10 fucking years now." "Shane," Hayden sputtered. Do you know how scared I've been this whole time? Do you know how fucking terrifying it is to feel attracted to your arch-rival when you are 18, and your rival also happens to be a man?" Okay, maybe Ilya shouldn't have refilled Shane's wineglass as many times as he had. "I have been so fucking scared and alone for so goddamned long, and tonight was supposed to end some of that, and you guys are acting like children. Fuck both of you." There was a loud silence that hung in the room for what felt like an hour, and then Hayden said, very quietly, "You could have told me, Shane." "What?" This time Hayden's voice was stronger. "You could have told me. I hate that you kept it from me all this time, that you thought you needed to." "Well, that was unexpectedly sweet." "It hurts, Hayden finished. Shane's mouth was hanging open, and Ilya was torn between speaking on his behalf and waiting to see what Shane would say. Curiosity won out. "I couldn't," Shane said finally. "We hadn't even told each other. It took us 7 years to figure out how we felt about each other, for me to figure out that I'm gay. But once we sorted all out, I wanted to tell you, and I did, eventually." "And," Ilya added, because he couldn't help himself, "you've taken it super well." Shane shot him a warning glance. Ilya looked away. "I thought you hated him," Hayden said. "We talked about how much we hated him all the time, for years, and then I find out not only that you don't hate him, but you must love him so fucking much, right? Like you'd have to go through all of this." The unwavering way Shane met Hayden's eyes when he replied, simply, "Yes, I do," took Ilya's breath away. "Wow," Jackie said, reminding Ilya that she was also in the room, that there were other people on Earth besides him and Shane right now. "Yes," Ilya murmured, unable to take his eyes off Shane's raised, determined chin. "I'm sorry," Hayden sounded like all the fight had left him. "I'm making this about me, and it's not. This dinner was a big deal for you, and I fucked it up." Shane didn't look like he'd been expecting that because he opened his mouth and closed it a few times before he finally nodded and said, "All right, thank you." And Hayden turned to Ilya, "If Shane loves you or whatever, then I guess you can't be such a bad guy." "There are good things about me, I think." Hayden scrubbed a hand over his face. "How the hell are you going to keep this a secret? Do you even have a plan?" "Actually," Shane said, "we do. Go sit down and Ilya will get the cookies I bought for dessert." He fixed his gaze on Ilya, and Ilya nodded. "Then we'll tell you about the Arena Foundation." 2 hours later, Shane was closing the door behind Hayden and Jackie. Ilya placed a gentle hand on Shane's lower back, only to have him turn on his heel and march into the kitchen. "I host." "Shane," he called after him, but he knew Shane wouldn't turn back or even acknowledge him. So he followed after his pissed-off boyfriend and found him angrily loading the dishwasher. "You are still mad," Ilya observed. In response, Shane forcefully shoved the bottom rack of the dishwasher, so it hit the back of the machine with a loud clatter of plates and cutlery. "At me," Ilya guessed. "Yes," Shane ground out. "No, I don't know." He folded his arms across his chest and stared out the window. "I hate this." "It's the window." "No, all of this." He gestured between himself and Ilya. Ilya's heart dropped to the floor. "You hate us." Shane squeezed his eyes shut. When he opened them again, his gaze was more miserable than angry. Ilya preferred angry. "I hate how we have to hide. I hate only getting these stolen moments with you. It's been so many fucking years of this, and I'm tired." Ilya's heart returned to his chest. He took a step toward Shane, wanting to touch him but not wanting him to stomp away again. "I know. It's not fair. Hayden and Jackie get to just, exist. The night they first got together, I watched them make out on a dance floor." "Pervert," Ilya teased. "I mean, I saw them. I wasn't watching. Shut up. The point is, they just met that night, and they were making out in front of the whole world without having to worry for one fucking second about anyone seeing them. Or their weird friend watching them." Shane pressed his lips together, and Ilya knew he was trying not to smile. He counted that as a victory. They started dating, and then a few months later they were engaged, and everyone on the team was congratulating Hayden. They had a big wedding and no one was, baffled and horrified that they were together. He exhaled. "What is that even like?" "Probably like when you were dating Rose Landry." Shane groaned. "Oh my god, Ilya, that was like 2 years ago, let it go." Ilya loved to tease him about Rose Landry, so no, he would not be letting it go. Rose had since become one of Shane's closest friends, and was one of the few people who knew about Shane and Ilya. Ilya liked Rose a lot, actually. "I wanted to feel normal tonight," Shane sighed. "You want a normal relationship." Ilya hoped not, because that was something he could definitely never offer Shane, as much as he wished he could. "It isn't fair, that's all. Hayden criticizes the hell out you and my relationship with you as if it's all some ridiculous joke, and you don't do anything to help. I mean, I want people to understand why I love you, but you are so fucking terrible at showing them." "Oh, you want me to be different?" Ilya asked. Shane let his arms fall to his sides. "I want you to not be a dick all the time." "I'm sorry," Ilya said, and he hoped his words sounded as sincere as he meant them. Shane snorted and turned toward the sink. He banged a couple of pots around, pretending to be busy, until Ilya stilled him by resting a hand on his arm. "Do you know what I was thinking all night?" Ilya asked gently, "when I was being a dick." Shane's shoulders tightened. "What?" "I was thinking," Ilya moved closer, lining his body up with Shane's, letting his chest brush against Shane's back, "about how much I loved this, being at home with you, even having friends over, being a couple." Shane's shoulders relaxed as he exhaled loudly. "I love it too, I just want more of it." He turned to face Ilya, and his eyes were much too sad. Ilya placed a hand on the side of Shane's face, brushing a thumb over his freckles. "Maybe I don't think about how it is unfair because..." He paused a moment, trying to choose his English words carefully. "I feel lucky. This is more than I have ever had." Shane's face scrunched up in confusion. Definitely one of Ilya's top 3 Shane Hollander expressions. Maury what? Ilya shrugged. Love, family, all that stuff. Shane's face discrunched. For a moment, Ilya could swear he saw a tremor in his lip, but then Shane thunked his forehead against Ilya's chest. Why are you like this? Shane moaned into Ilya's shirt. Can't you let me be annoyed with you? Do you have to ruin it by saying romantic shit like that? Romantic? I thought it was more pathetic. Shane shook his head against Ilya's chest, and Ilya wrapped his arms around him. I love you, Shane murmured. Ilya kissed the top of his head. It never got old, hearing Shane say that. Nothing had grown stale between them, even though it had been over a year since they had first said those life-changing words to each other. Maybe it was because their time together was always short and precious. Maybe one day, when they were old and retired and making dinner together for the millionth time, Ilya's blood wouldn't heat at the sound of Shane's voice. That day was not today, though. Ilya tangled his fingers into Shane's hair and lightly tugged, pulling his face away from Ilya's chest and tilting it up to meet his gaze. Don't you have something to say to me? Shane asked wryly. Ilya's lips quirked up, and instead of saying the words back, he leaned down and kissed him slowly, adoringly, the kind of unhurried, careful kiss that Ilya knew Shane wouldn't put up with for long. As expected, within a minute Shane let out a growl and took control. He kissed Ilya hungrily, wrapping one ankle around the back of Ilya's leg and pulling their bodies tight together. This was the man that Ilya loved, right here, sexy and challenging and unabashedly on fire for Ilya. Without even looking at what might be in the way, Ilya hoisted Shane up and sat him on the counter. Something clattered into the sink and something else fell to the floor, but neither man reacted. They kept kissing and yanking each other's shirts out of their pants. Shane shoved Ilya's shirt up, bunching it under his armpits, then slid his palms over Ilya's chest. Over the grizzly bear tattoo that covered most of Ilya's left pec. Ilya could admit to himself now that the tattoo was a bit much, but he'd been 18 when he'd gotten it, and it gave Shane something to tease him about, so he couldn't hate it. Ilya broke the kiss and pulled back a bit, smiling as Shane eagerly chased his mouth, leaning too far forward and nearly falling off the countertop. Ilya steadied him with one hand, but Shane wrapped his legs tight around Ilya's waist and yanked him back toward him, gripping the back of Ilya's head and locking their mouths together. Ilya responded by lifting Shane off the counter, placing his hands firmly under his ass. He spun them until Shane's back was pressed against the wall by the door, then kept kissing him. He kissed his way down Shane's neck as Shane writhed against the wall. Bedroom, Shane gasped. I need you in me. Ilya grinned against his neck. He loved it when Shane asked for what he wanted. I can fuck you right here, mój возлюбленный. No, fuck maybe, Shane panted. What does that one mean? My horny animal, Ilya lied. Eat shit, Shane unwrapped his legs and lowered himself to the floor. Bedroom, come on. He pushed past Ilya, darting toward the stairs. Ilya caught up with him on the landing, halfway up. He grabbed his arm and spun him, pinning him against the wall with hands on both of Shane's biceps. Ilya's lips hovered a breath away from Shane's. Whatever happens, Ilya huffed in frustration, English escaping him again. What? Shane's eyes were wide. Ilya loosened his grip on his arms, sliding his hands down to grasp Shane's hands instead. I will tell the whole world right now, if it is what you want. Shane's brow pinched. You would? Yes. Shane squeezed Ilya's hands. I'm scared, he admitted. I want to just be with you, but I also don't want to deal with everything that we would have to deal with, and I don't want to lose you. You won't lose me. What if no one will sign us? What if you get deported? Then I will fake my own death. We will move to a cabin in the mountains. Shane shook his head. I'm being serious. I am serious. If we hide forever or tell the world right now I am with you, I will quit hockey or fight to stay, whatever you want. It shouldn't be only my decision. Ilya sighed. I mean, I am yours, yes. To protect that I will do anything. Shane's eyes went gooey. You're mine, yes. Then Ilya brushed Shane's bangs aside. Let me show you. When they got to the bedroom, they stayed standing at the foot of the bed, kissing for long minutes. Eventually, Ilya began to slowly undress Shane. He carefully removed each item of clothing, covering the newly exposed skin with soft kisses and gentle bites while Shane shivered. In the morning, Ilya would be gone, and they wouldn't see each other again for weeks, but he would make damn sure Shane wouldn't doubt Ilya's devotion while they were apart. He would spend the rest of this night worshipping him. Ilya could sleep on the fucking plane. Yours, Ilya said again as he sank to his knees. He peppered light kisses around Shane's belly button and over the ridges of his abs. He flicked his gaze up to catch Shane, and found desire burning bright in his eyes. He was gorgeous, backlit by the soft light of the bedside lamp. Shadows dipped into the hard lines of this chest and stomach, accentuating his muscle definition. "Yours," Shane whispered back. Ilya nodded slowly and trailed his fingers to the button on Shane's pants. He flicked it open, then followed the zipper's descent with kisses down to the base of Shane's cock. Ilya slid his pants down to the floor, then tapped Shane's ankle so he would step out of them. Once the pants had been kicked into a corner of the room, Ilya pressed his mouth to the bulge in Shane's underwear. Ilya breathed hot on Shane's cock through the black fabric of his boxer briefs. He traced the outline of Shane's erection with his tongue, then dipped his head to mouth at his balls. "Holy fuck, that feels good," Shane gasped. He curled his fingers into Ilya's hair, gripping but not controlling. Ilya was still in charge. Ilya would convince Shane with his body that everything would be all right. They were good. They would always be good. When Shane's underwear was thoroughly damp and clinging to his erection, Ilya peeled them down and off, then reunited them with Shane's pants in the corner. Shane's cock bobbed eagerly in front of Ilya's face, but Ilya ignored it, returning his attention to his balls. He loved Shane's balls. They were naturally smooth and perfectly shaped. He loved the feel of them in his mouth, the weight of them, heavy with Shane's need for release. "God, Ilya, one of these nights you're gonna make me come just from this, I swear." Ilya waggled his eyebrows. "Could be tonight." Shane groaned, but he was smiling. "No way, I need you to fuck me tonight, please." "Well," Ilya ran his tongue up the length of Shane's cock, "you did say please. And could you take off your clothes, pretty please?" Ilya stood, then gave Shane a quick kiss before unbuttoning his own rumpled shirt, just enough to pull it over his head. "On the bed," he instructed, "and take your fucking socks off." In less than a minute, Shane was on his back, and Ilya was stretched over him, naked, and kissing him into the mattress. There were a lot of reasons why it would be messed up if the world could see them right now, but if the world could see them right now, they'd have to get it right. They'd have to see that what he and Shane had together was real and good and unstoppable. He knew it would be a shock to the hockey world when they finally held their planned press conference. They would only be announcing that they had started a charity together and that they were friends, but even those basic facts were going to blow some minds. He could kiss Shane at that press conference. Just pull him in and kiss him in front of the cameras and reporters. Then it would be done. Ilya grabbed the lube from the nightstand drawer. He sat up, straddling Shane's thighs, and drizzled the lube into his palm and over his fingers. Ilya Rozanov and his boyfriend, Shane Hollander. Ilya liked the sound of it, the idea of hockey commentators saying those words. Ilya Rozanov and his husband, Shane Hollander. "Ooh, better." Hollander passes the puck to his sexy husband, Ilya Rozanov. Okay, maybe Ilya had gone a little heavy on the wine himself tonight. Ilya took his time working Shane open, savoring every gasp and moan his gorgeous boyfriend gave him. Shane opened for him beautifully, welcoming Ilya's fingers inside. Ilya was always overwhelmed by how easily Shane gave himself to him, how much he trusted Ilya to give him exactly what he needed. Even when they had ostensibly been enemies, Shane had trusted Ilya not to hurt him. Ilya had never been brave enough to give himself to someone in this way. Maybe that wasn't the right way of thinking about it, but when Ilya watched Shane take his fingers, or his cock, he couldn't help but marvel at his courage. As much as he'd heard the endless locker room insults about taking it in the ass, Ilya knew there was nothing weak about what Shane was doing right now. "Please, Ilya," Shane's voice was stretched thin. Deciding that he had tortured Shane for long enough, Ilya reached again for the nightstand drawer. Shane stopped him with a hand on his wrist. "Not tonight." Ilya's breath caught. They had gone without condoms a few times over the past year, but Shane was weird about mess, and usually preferred using protection. "Are you sure?" Ilya asked. Shane's certainty was clear in his eyes, the same way it had been when he told Hayden that, yes, he did love Ilya so much. "I'm sure." Well, Ilya certainly wasn't going to argue. He took his hand away from the drawer and placed it on Shane's cheek. Shane gave him a heartbreakingly adorable grin, and then Ilya kissed the hell out of him. Entering Shane felt perfect. It always felt perfect, but doing it like this, with nothing between them, was exhilarating. Ilya had never had sex without protection before Shane, and the thrill of it nearly did Ilya in immediately every time they tried it. Shane's face went slack and euphoric. "God, that's so fucking good," he murmured. He spread his legs wider, drew his knees in closer, begging Ilya with his body language to bury himself deeper. Ilya gripped Shane's thighs, pushing them back astonishingly far so he could slide in as deep as possible. Jesus, Ilya needed to buy a thank you gift for Shane's yoga instructor. "Good?" Ilya asked, checking in. "Amazing," Shane confirmed. Ilya smiled. He still fondly remembered the first time Shane had sucked anyone, back when they'd been 19 and Shane had been terrified of his own desires. He'd been so unsure of what to do, but so determined to do it well. The truth was that Ilya had probably been as terrified as Shane, back then. He'd just been better at hiding it. The first time Ilya had fucked Shane had been a few months after that, and Ilya had been overly concerned with making it seem like it hadn't been a big deal. Like being inside Shane hadn't been a revelation. He'd left the hotel room as soon as possible after, afraid of what he may have said or done if he'd stayed even a minute longer. He could say or do whatever he wanted now. There was no need to hide his heart now. "I love this, Shane, I love you so much, you're beautiful, perfect." He turned his head and kissed Shane's ankle. "Perfect," he repeated. I love you inside me. Fuck, it's so good. Always so good, Ilya, want you to come in me." Ilya grunted in response and sped up his thrusts, wanting to give Shane what he needed, wanting to fill him up. Shane was stroking himself, which Ilya always enjoyed watching. His strong fingers flew over his cock as his back arched off the bed. Christ, he was spectacular. He cried out as his release showered over his chest, his ass spasming around Ilya's cock. "Gonna come," Ilya warned, because holy fuck. "Yeah," Shane rasped, "give it to me, come on." 2 more thrusts and Ilya was emptying himself into Shane. He tried to keep his gaze locked with Shane, as pleasure ripped through him, making it impossible to speak. When his orgasm finally subsided, he pulled Shane up and kissed him, holding him close. "Fuck," Shane said breathlessly, "we're really good at that." "The best," Ilya agreed. Later, after they had cleaned themselves up and were snuggled together under the blankets, Shane said, "So, 3 weeks. 3 weeks until their teams would meet for a Saturday night game. They had decided that they would hold their press conference the following morning. A heavy silence stretched between them. How much would change for them? How much harder would it be to keep their true relationship a secret? Would it be easier to hide in plain sight as friends? Friends who spent their summers together, who visited each other during the season, even, who started a charity together. Ilya supposed it didn't matter. They were doing it, and they would deal with the consequences when they happened. "I'm ready," Shane said. His voice was clear and steady. "Yes," Ilya said softly, "me too."